Defending, reigning champions of East LA, you are now tuning into the Men's Circle.
There it is.
Congratulations, you're welcome. We're here for you yet again. And this is the Men's Circle minus, what's his name?
That one guy. That one dude.
The one that looks like a
What's his name? There's usually someone else here.
Why?
There's usually someone else here. Today there's only 4, so...
he talks a lot, I forget.
Type it in the comments if you remember. I can't. I don't remember.
He gets annoying sometimes.
But I'm 2 Ravens. People call me Ome. To my military left is Decolo, Lucas. And then we have Lana Escoyo. And yours truly, Head Hockey.
I didn't put it the sound effect because I liked how we did it with our mouths. And I was like, I'm leaving it like that. We can put it. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna put it. I like how we imitate the sound. It's cooler.
So today we're gonna have Decolo give us our land acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Where are we?
We're in the middle of Tonga territory, close by to the
Okay.
Yangna. Was it Yangna?
Yangna.
Yangna was the closest village here in LA. So Tonga territory.
Would that be like by Placito Vera?
Yeah.
So-called
Placito Vera. Olivera.
Olivera. The African.
Olivera. Placito Olivera. If you know, you know. All right. Real.
You know.
Who? Which one? Just a quick disclaimer. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Men's Circle podcast. It is a podcast, and the opinions are our own. Any guests that we have, their opinions are their own. Our intent here is not to insult anybody, but it's not our priority to please everyone. And yeah, our opinions may evolve. Because you said you didn't like the word. Was it change?
Change, yeah.
You're like evolve. Okay, so our opinions may evolve over time. So yeah.
From Pikachu's to Raichu.
So you can't cancel me 20 years later for some shit I said. Because I did disclaimer it.
And I was just thinking about that word today. I was
Cancel.
no, the word
disclaimer.
Evolve.
Oh.
And how this concept of after you're revolutionary, and this idea of what revolution means. But what we're actually trying to do is re-evolve.
We're evolutionaries.
Re-evolutionaries.
Revolve.
Re-evolve.
Because we've been told what revolution is by Western minds.
Re-evolutionaries.
It's the English language. We're still
re-evolutionary.
But which is what is the idea of evolution that we've been given, right? It's Darwinist.
It's Pikachu and Raichu.
If you choose ours, native ideas of evolution, it's a different narrative.
It's Caterpie Butterfree.
You forgot Metapod.
Caterpie Metapod Butterfree.
All right. Well, all right. The topic is about media, though. So, basically, today's topic we're gonna discuss male characters in media. So, what we did was we asked everybody on the cast. I hope everybody picked a good character to choose from, and we're basically gonna just pick each other's brain as to why we chose these characters. These characters, for the most part, are all fictional. Everybody. Yeah.
And randomly selected.
Randomly selected without any influence from each other. But yeah.
The Bible's a historical fiction book, right?
That's a fictional book.
That should be good then.
Yeah. So so we all chose one, and pretty much, hopefully, we figure out why and our psychology as to what made us pick these characters and
The whole Torah.
kind of break it down. So,
Oh, no time to suppose that again.
first then?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, it was your
All
idea.
right. All right. So,
Show us how it's done.
all right. I'll pick.
Oh, you have it listed?
Let's go with Stu
pick the character.
Pickles.
Who?
Stu Pickles.
Never heard of him.
So Stu Pickles, for those that don't know, is the dad from Rugrats.
Good dad.
Oh yeah.
The dad from Rugrats. So
purple hair guy.
So yeah, he's purple hair guy.
He's always drunk.
No, he's not drunk.
Is meth.
He looks drunk.
No, he's not. He's a fucking mad scientist, kind of like.
Oh,
He's an inventor.
meth. Yeah.
He's not bad.
He's not bad. Yeah. So okay, so the questions that we picked was so who's my character? So yeah, so if for those of you that didn't grow up in the '90s, the Rugrats was a cartoon about was it 4 babies? Is it 4 of them?
Is it 4 or is there more?
There's a twins,
There's a twins,
Chucky.
and
Tommy.
Tommy, and then the
There's a
girl.
girl.
Oh, the cousin.
Angelica.
Okay,
Angelica,
so it's,
yeah.
okay, but she's not in it every
Wow, how
time.
misogynist.
And what are you cancel. So, anyways, there's other characters. There's the little brother. There's the other little girl who she gets in it later too.
Uh-huh.
Anyways,
Angelica was the oldest, right?
she was the
like a
oldest
bully
one. Yeah, and then they brought in that other character, kind of like
to even it out.
yeah, because she would check her basically. She
Yeah.
wouldn't let her be mean to the kids. But I specifically chose Stu Pickles because he kind of, to me, embodies like a dad who really, really, really wants to like please his children,
Uh huh.
and the whole time in the show he's fumbling to make these inventions, because not only is his family depending on his inventions because he's selling his inventions,
Uh-huh.
but he's also making it to play with his kids.
Uh,
So I picked him because he just reminds me so much of every real father. I feel like at some point, as me being a dad, like we do try our hardest to please our kids and do a lot of things for them, and sometimes we just fucking miss we miss the mark, or we do some stuff that's just not quite there, you know, like we fumble. I mean, like I could tell you a billion times where like I packed up, you know, I took my kids out, it was just me and my kids, and I didn't bring the diaper bag. like fuck, like no one took a shit, like, and I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do now, you know. The cool thing though about at least me personally, sorry, we got some discrepancy. The cool thing about me personally is that, like, you know, you kind of improvise and you figure out, either you go to the store and buy diapers real quick, or go back home, whatever. But that's why I picked him. I like that he, you know, I like that he embodies that stumbly father, but he's always trying to do
always
good.
adapting.
Yeah, but he's also always trying to do good for his kids, and he has a good heart, and yeah. So one of the things that we had to discuss was like his flaw. I kind of mentioned it already, which was he fucks up a lot. he has a tendency to screw things up. His inventions never work. They always collapse, or sometimes they do work and then the kids mess them up too. So that's like another thing that's like, kids tend to do that. They mess up your
plan,
what you have going on, and sometimes it, you know, ruins it. And then
So you're saying don't have kids?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying have them when you fucking settle down, when you're ready to have kids. Yeah.
Not if you're inventing shit.
Yeah, Dad, not a good idea. Not
keep
to
your
have a
adventure
whole.
room away from the kids.
Exactly. And also, don't test them on your kids. Who tests all this shit on these kids? They're like collapsing. Like, so many
got
times they
leukemia.
get, yeah, that's not good. One of the questions was, would you show this character to your kids if you have kids? Yes, obviously. It is from a kid's cartoon, and I actually have showed my kids the Rugrats. Matter of fact, they're watching the movie the other day. So, and the one more question is the character appropriate for the current time frame? I would say yeah. He hasn't aged in a way where it's like he doesn't fit now, because I think it still applies till today. And Yeah, I think that's pretty much my character.
Oh.
Hey. So
Are we going to the military left or to the right?
military left would be this way.
And I'm just trying to throw the audience off.
Well, I'll ask you the questions.
Right,
Sorry,
that's my
since
question.
because I was hoping y'all would ask me, but I guess.
Oh, wow.
We didn't know.
That's what X did. X did like he's like asking everybody questions and stuff. So anyways, so
I see.
what character?
Oh,
did
that
you,
was his name.
Oh yeah. Alright, so what character did you pick?
I chose a character from an anime show called Dragon Ball Z. And that character's name is Goku. Yes.
If you don't know who he is, you live under a rock. But
Yeah.
they
If
describe
you don't
him
know
as-
who Goku is, you need to stop watching the show.
Dragon Ball came out when he was a kid in the anime in the 80s. And then in the 90s, he transitioned to adulthood, became a parent. And then in 2000s to now, he's on some other level.
He's died a few times.
Yeah.
He's doing some other god shit.
Yeah. He's doing God stuff.
Is he so he's a father figure?
Yes, he's a father of 2 kids. He has 2 boys.
Is he a good father?
Well, that just depends on how you look at it.
Explain.
Okay, I'll explain because so this character is like a superhero, like a main character of the anime, and he's supposed to be like a martial artist, right? And as the anime progresses, like he has superpowers and all this fictional stuff, obviously, right? He dies a few times, where like he would rather go train and fight villains than spend time with his child, you know. There was a part in the series where he actually did go train with his child because he believed that his child was gonna win. You know, he was stronger than anybody else. But for the most part, like his son was kidnapped. You know, like a bunch of shit, like a bunch of stuff happened. And yeah, but I mean, ultimately, I think he's a good father. You know, because he would ultimately like, wow. Not a good father, but a good human being because he wants to defend the earth and stuff from bad people. And a lot of his character is very like innocent based, very like calm, like peaceful for the most part. But you piss him off, and he's gonna wreck shit.
So in one of the little sections of Dragon Ball Z, he leaves Gohan, his son, with Piccolo.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do you feel about that?
Oh no. On my planet.
It's debatable because obviously the mom was mad, right? But
why was she
Piccolo,
mad?
But Piccolo did help raise Gohan to, not be fearful, like and be like more like a fighter, like his dad, And
Yeah, to be like his stepdad, Piccolo.
It's like his dick of an uncle, but he taught him good lessons.
yeah.
Like
smacked him around a few times.
because he was a little soft.
Yeah, too soft.
Stayed soft though.
Yeah, he kind of did.
Stayed soft.
I really hate that about the writers. Like, why would you not make him into something good instead they gave it to the younger one? But anyway,
I think it's because he was Goku's firstborn, and they kind of wanted to make him the opposite of Goku. They why have two
Goku was
Gokus?
soft too to begin with. He was very like innocent.
No,
Yeah, he's very.
Goku is a fucking murderer. Though.
he is.
For the most part,
He's a soft dude until you piss him off.
That's what I said.
Goku stays
But he's-
soft.
Gohan.
Gohan stays soft. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a nerd.
He needed to merge with fucking Vegeta or whoever it was to like get some killer instinct in him.
Remember he was that like superhero character for some random.
Oh yeah.
He uses his Saiyan powers.
You know what?
Wow.
Gohan was like my favorite character in the Cell Saga when he was fighting Cell, because he also really beat Cell, and then going to the Majin Buu when he became like
Gogeta.
no, that Mystic Gohan one, the one where he wears his dad's orange suit. Like that, he was badass there, but then the writers did kill it and they fucking made him into a nerd and all that shit.
Nah, Goten and Trunks were legit.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, those were legit. Is there any other flaws that you want to point out about the character?
Just the fact that he would be careless with his kids and his wife.
Would you say he's neglectful to his family? kind of, because he's training like. Oh.
Yeah. He would rather go train in space and do other shit.
But he is saving the world, like,
Yeah.
or actually the universe at this point.
It's like, dude,
Like-
why did you even have kids?
Like after he beat Frieza, he got lost in space, right? He was training with those aliens, like learning the techniques, and he said like, "Oh, I had an option to come back, but I was training with these guys."
So it's not it's not the greatest.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you show if you had kids? Because you don't have kids. Would you show this character to your kids?
Yeah, I would definitely show it to them. Yeah. Because I think like if you look at the series from when they're young, I like when they're young because like Master Roshi drops a lot of gems on them, you know, because she's training them, and it's a little bit more realistic, you know, not so much like, oh, I'm gonna turn into a god or whatever. You know, like, it's a bit more realistic. I like when Master Roshi's training them, and he has them like delivering milk everywhere with the heavy ass turtle shell, right? And they're like, oh, when we gonna start the training? And Master Roshi's like, what do you mean? You've been training this whole time, you know? He takes off the shell and they're like a lot faster, you know, like they're able to do everything.
Gravity training.
Yeah, you know?
Just disclaimer that the old ones.
Oh, yeah.
There's some
nudity.
questionable
There's,
things.
weird, like, pedophilia.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that because now they might get canceled.
That's why I say disclaimer.
Yo, Master Roshi is definitely not.
Yeah, that would have been a good.
Cancel Master Roshi.
Oh shit. So okay, you kind of answered it, but is this character appropriate for like right now? Like, did he age well?
Well, he doesn't age, but I think so. I think a lot of the stuff that he has like applies to like, you know, everyday life. Like, for example, he cares about the planet, right? About the animals and stuff like that. You know, like he doesn't like use nonsense violence.
Right.
Like, you know, so you piss him off and he'll shred you into me.
All right. So
So who'd you pick?
yeah.
Well, at first I didn't know who to pick, but then hearing you guys talk, then now I have three.
All right. Cool. We can
I have
keep going.
three, but one real life fictional character, and then two
Should we do like a round two?
anime. But so I'll go with the anime.
Okay.
I'll go with the anime.
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I didn't think about that one too. I didn't even
It's
think
actually a
about
good one.
Ghibli
Yeah,
Studios.
it's a really good one.
Don't talk about.
But I went with the other one. I went with Naruto.
Okay.
I don't know much about Naruto.
Naruto.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fake copy of Dragon Ball Z.
So
No, you're gonna start
It
a
probably
war.
is.
You're gonna start a war.
it might be, but I think
is.
this is more
Orange
based
suit,
on
yellow
this
hair,
is more.
powers.
There's a little bit more based on human reality,
Well,
somewhat.
yeah.
can you just
Because all the jutsus are.
Can you describe like
It's a karma. I don't know.
can you describe Naruto, like the character, and like just his
I
setting
guess he.
for the viewers that don't know?
The ones that don't know. Fuck.
He doesn't know.
I don't know.
So he was.
describe
He,
Naruto.
I guess
I don't know.
he grew up as an orphan.
Okay.
Goku, orphan.
And then he, but he has this power inside him that everybody fears. The
And he's turned into a monkey?
So the community. It's a pretty sad story because I've seen it kind of it manifest in a certain way. Like in some stories I've heard of like people
Like in real life?
different communities.
Oh, okay.
Shifting.
But just like when you're an orphan, like you're just kind of in today's world, you're kind of like you're a throwaway, and so he's like a throwaway. So then, but then the community kind of like he befriends his peers, and through missions, he earns the respect, right?
What kind of mission?
Missions,
Like Christian mission?
against how would you consider like the warrior missions? What other word would you use?
Does he fight for a nation?
Also, like combat, like
Yeah, he's in combat, like death.
That's
Does he fight for a
what's his
nation?
community like?
His
Did he
community-
join a dojo or
No, community was like a village.
where he lived?
okay.
A
So
village,
he was like a warrior in a
and then
village.
the village had clans, and so these clans would come together came together to make the village of Hidden in the Leaves. And so they're the ones that were like the main village within this region, I guess this state, and then there was 5 main states throughout the region. And so
he was in the Warrior Society.
So
he was
in
on
the Warrior
missions.
Society. He would go on these missions.
I see.
So through those missions, as you know, as the enemy progresses, he earns the respect. And then this huge battle at the end, you know. But then
Did they fight Frieza too?
Did they fight who?
Frieza.
There's an off-planet being that comes to the Earth.
Okay.
And so, you know, you can take it as it is. It's Anunnaki shit type shit, you know. Like it's some of these stories are based on some like ancient stories, so it's kind of like, I don't know. But the thing is that that anime ends, and then a new anime starts called Boruto, and that's Naruto is a father now.
Oh, that's his son, right?
So I was gonna say, is he a father? But
yeah, he becomes a father.
Okay.
And so then he eventually becomes the, I guess you can say the chosen leader of the village. Like in today, you can call it, you know.
Naruto becomes the chosen leader.
The chosen leader.
Chief.
Yeah.
What would you call him in the anime?
What would
Does
you
it
call
have a
him?
name, right? They had to have.
Yeah. In that specific village, they call themselves Hokage.
Yeah, that's.
The Hokage.
What does that mean?
Hokage.
If you know.
I forget what that
He's
means.
a top dog.
But it's like the
Shock collar.
just like but he's chosen by the village. Like basically, the Warrior Society chooses the next leader.
Got it.
You know, and because everything's about Warrior Societies.
So he's like the Cuauhtémoc of the anime Boruto.
No, not even. I would probably Cuauhtémoc. Yeah, but more. Yeah, you could say that. So
is he a good father?
He initially, I think he before he became the leader of the village, because he had time to spend with the family. And then once he was chosen, it's like one of those things like the community chooses Red Hawk to do something, and it's like now he's like almost like obligated, you know, because it's the whole village that's kind of like choosing this you know, him,
Bestowing upon you the honor of responsibility.
Yeah, so now these responsibilities take him away from being around for the kids.
Right.
I have a question about that might not have to do with what we're talking about, but how would the family feel if the parent is just taken away like that, but you have to fulfill it because obviously you're being chosen for something that's not like
Collective.
You mean like duty?
Yeah, like the wife, right? Like this girl.
It's a hella open-ended question though, because you would need context for the perspectives of the family. Like
It's
you can insert any perspective.
But like even now, right? Even now, like if you think about it, like let's say you were married and you had kids, right? And you're super down. People call you, hey, you know what? We're fighting this pipeline. We need blah 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 blah. We're choosing you to come here, you know. And now you're gonna go put yourself in a tough position.
See, but that,
you know, without like really.
I can answer that question, you know, because.
But can you? Because you don't have a family.
I can answer it, and I can tell you exactly why I can answer it, because anybody who I'm going to engage with in that type of matter that have a kid, they need to know that I have a lifetime responsibility to some things.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, we could have all the kids and all the responsibilities, and I could be making all the money. And if the right circumstances fall in line, she needs to know that I will drop everything and go handle that. And if she can't deal with that, if she can't accept that, then we don't begin to
have
engage.
kids.
We don't have kids.
Have kids. Yeah.
We don't have kids. We don't even begin to engage in the making of a family to begin with. If she can't deal with that, and then not only that, there has to be a confirmation that she really understands it, because she could say yeah. But then when the kids come around, all of a sudden things change, right? Like, no, there needs to be a 100% legit confirmation that you understand that this is the context, the premise, before we start to go any further. This is what it is. If the right number calls my phone, you know what I mean? If the right circumstances align, it's gonna happen, and it could be the last time we see each other. I could die on the battlefield.
So you think that character's wife was okay with it?
So in the anime, the warrior society is made up of both men and women, and it's only they who understand each other, so they end up hooking up.
So
Right.
warriors
See,
hook 'em up.
that would be
So
the right match right
You
there.
know, and so that's what makes the anime very like in the society, because then even leadership is shared between the genders. You know, because both, you know, in the you know, there's male and female genders. They both carry, you know, they're both human, and so they both carry the what they call the jutsu, right? The whatever we want to call it, karma, not karma.
Isn't it like a demon or something?
No,
I heard it was
it's
like a inner.
So much like Goku, Naruto has a 9-tailed fox thing inside of him when he can transform into like this crazy
It's like a spirit, you could
spirit
say.
thing, right? So
Like an awali.
in Dragon Ball Z, it's a monkey. In Naruto, it's this 9-tailed fire fox.
Yeah, and there's
See?
Anyway.
Copy Dragon Ball Z.
so, but in the show, they do show that because he's taken away from the family, wife understands, the son doesn't.
Is the son warrior too?
Yeah. And so, but he still has that conflict.
But the reason why Naruto is an orphan is because that 9-tailed fox thing was like destroying the world. Like it was an actual entity that was
It was
like,
destroying the village.
it was destroying the village, and in order for them to like get rid of this thing, they pretty much had to sacrifice somebody in the village. They were like, yo, somebody has to like hold this spirit within them, and like we're gonna get this thing and like insert this demon spirit thing into one of these unborn children, and that was Naruto. And then I think his parents died fighting that thing.
His parents were the ones that put that spirit in Naruto.
So he was
as
born.
they
He
were
wasn't
dying.
unborn. Yeah. So as they were dying, he was already born like an infant, and then they like put him in there, and then that's why he was like outcasted by the village because like, oh, that's the food with the demon inside him. Don't fuck with that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So what's one flaw this character has?
well,
you would say?
it's I think he's a good father figure. That's a good question in terms of like flaws. I mean, I think
I've only seen the first season. I can name a
think
flaw.
they, you know, from the point he becomes a father, it's one of those like, how do you navigate between, like you said, the responsibilities of the village and still engaged in the daily lives of your kids, you know, because he has the oldest son and he has a younger daughter. So that's where I think it's one of those flaws that is like hard to kind of like.
This is like a duty.
It's a flaw, but it's like it's like one of those.
A respectable flaw.
Yeah, I guess you could say.
I mean, you could even look at military, and they do the same thing.
That's
I
what I was
mean, it's
gonna say.
no different than what you were saying. It's just one's, I guess, socially more accepted,
Yeah.
and because we've kind of implanted it, that it's duty to serve your country versus.
But that's what I was gonna say, because like in the military, the wife may not necessarily be military herself, you know, but they socially
Super accepting, yeah.
socially accepted that, like, oh yeah, it's okay, you know, like you're doing a service to, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but she might feel more comfortable with that, not only on the principled side of like you're serving your country, but like, oh, I get all the military discounts and all the benefits, all the benefits of like having this little ID card that says my man's in the military, or vice versa. My wife's in the
Probably why they give it
military,
to them,
you know.
to keep them.
Like you're the what is that? That
I can get
fund
duty
that
free
when you pass
groceries
away,
and
they give a
29
check. If you pass
Life
away, you
insurance?
give, that one.
Yeah, they get all kinds of crazy benefits,
Yeah.
and we don't get no
Incentives.
benefits.
You get to
So it's
how
all
to
about
earth
the
that's
money, huh?
yeah.
So
Would you show this character to your child? I would assume.
yeah, I would, since he was the one that put me
Showed
on.
it to you.
I mean, so she put me on an initial first two. I guess you could say stages of Naruto's life.
I'm
which
not
is,
adjusting it anymore.
The first one is his childhood, and then his like teenage, I guess, years, and then she hasn't really caught up into the fatherhood part.
It's a lot of seasons, right? Like I heard it's like a shitload.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes, kind of like Dragon Ball Z. They're just like, but not as much, I think.
Never ends.
If you're talking about like 1990s and 2000s,
Yeah.
80s, bro.
then you're like, you'll be through by the, I'll still be going through, I guess, Dragon Ball Z, and you'll still be done with Naruto twice.
So, I mean, obviously, the character's still around, but do you think it's appropriate for this current time?
Did it age
climate?
I think so. I think there's a lot of, because again, it's an Eastern, right? I think it's Japanese. So there's a lot of their cultural teachings embedded in there.
It's west from us.
Where would you place Naruto in the modern world? Like, where would his role lie with humans now? Like, if you were to put him like, because like if he was a Jesus, they'd probably Romanize his ass and kill him.
Put him on the cross.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Got the demon in him.
Maybe we should add that to the last question. Like, if he was a real character, how would it?
Where would he fit in society?
Yeah, that's a cool question.
Where would he fit in our society?
I would say he would probably be in the military.
A secret weapon in the military?
Yeah.
Probably an overt weapon in the military.
So instead of bombing kids in Palestine, he'd be sending Naruto to Palestine?
Well, I guess if you're in Israel.
In Palestine?
Would he belong to the Japanese?
It's kind of hard to say because, again, they're like based on clans.
The Japanese would have won World War II.
He would have smacked the Americans.
And I think today what's lacking is your connection to your past. In today's world is.
So he would be that link between the modern day and the past.
It's.
I think that's valid because like that's one thing I feel that today's society lacks is that connection. Like even for example, I feel like people that read the Bible, I feel like it's just recital. There's really no real connection.
I mean, that's a generalization. I think there is a lot of people that try to find connection to it, and it's so general that anybody can find a connection to it. You know what I mean? And it's so general, and there's so much in there, and it's complex reading sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if you can't find a connection to it, a pastor, a minister will give you a connection to it one way or another.
Yeah.
And people will make that real.
But that's one thing I learned recently is the difference with connection and attraction. Where it's like connection is like instantaneously you're drawn to it. Like whereas to like affection is like somebody showing you these things and that's where it's attracting you to it. Whereas
that's real. You're right.
And when I heard that, it was talking about relationships, and that shit just blew my mind. I was like, what? And then it was saying like if there's connection, then you can fall out, but you can always fall right back in. Whereas like there's no connection, then you're just gonna move on to the next thing.
Right.
Which is where I feel like, like when I used to go to church, I would hear people pray and ask for forgiveness and do all these things. Next Saturday, you're doing the same shit all over again.
You're asking for forgiveness for the same shit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, whereas like there's connection, like don't get me wrong, I feel like there is people that are connected to it, like and they just turn their life around, like boom, like, and they're like fanatical about all that stuff, like.
Yeah. There's people who say that they hear God talking to them and shit like that, and it's like. I can talk to myself in my head, and I can say that's God, and I can believe that's God, but it's the same voice prior to me giving it the God identity. You know what I mean? Like it's the same voice that was always there, and I can just turn that God identity off for whatever reason. My opinion changes. Now that's no longer the God identity, but it's the same voice. You know what I mean?
You're in the strip club with booty shaking.
Lord forgive.
Give her another $1.
You guys want to hear a negative one?
Sure.
We want to go around first.
It's part of the same Naruto thing.
Oh, okay.
Universe.
Was that round 2?
Nah, we'll go.
We're gonna go around.
We're gonna go round 2 for the next character.
You sound like you want to get it off your chest, so.
Well, because I have 3, but
Well, we'll keep going.
So the other one is Jiraiya.
Who's Jiraiya?
Jiraiya was like another warrior in the Naruto universe. but he was older. He was like 2 generations older than Naruto. So he became kind of like his mentor, kind of like the elder.
I bet he's like Master Roshi.
Probably. So ask the question.
Teaching him.
Is he a father figure? Yeah, in the sense that he more like a grandfather figure, I guess you could say. He had patience, but he also understood that the life that he was like the orphan, right? He was an orphan, and he was actually his dad's teacher too.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have kids, so he never married. He, like where society became like his kids. His
family.
Was
his ohana.
Okay. So
his flaw.
So his flaw. He was a perv.
Master Roshi. All right, Naruto fans, you're gonna have to answer for this shit. This is too damn similar.
Yeah. It's Dragon Ball Z.
It's probably Dragon Ball Z. He was a complete perv, and maybe that might be a Japanese thing, because
Yeah, like I feel like in Japanese like anime, you see that like perviness, in some characters.
You real quick. So Daiso, the Japanese 99-cent store, had this fake swan thing.
Oh yeah.
And some of us saw it. They have like it's like a swan thing, and you blow it up, and it's supposed to you're supposed to put it like
on your genitals.
And then it has like a character, like a little animated character on there, like he looks like a perverted dude. Yeah. And that's what they're selling. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a penis. It's supposed to be a penis.
Yeah.
An inflatable penis toy.
So kids can.
But it's in the kids section.
Yeah. It's so weird, but there might be a cultural thing. Not to shit on the Japanese or anything, but
well, I mean,
it's just Japanese. You're gonna have to answer for
that. we got some questions for you.
Cancel the Japanese.
Yo, we even took them to Daiso and yo, what is this? Like the kids are seeing this penis toy.
And
they didn't care. They put it back up there.
Well, they did say that. We'll tell our manager, but that's as far as it went.
They're like, "What? This is a Japanese store, so when
you need more cultural sense.
When you cross into this store, you're coming into the Japanese culture." So complete perv, and they would show like little things that we do, like try to like a peeping tom,
Master Roshi.
Would you show this character to my kids? No, I would not.
No. but she's gonna show you, so she's already been exposed.
Yeah, so she was exposed to it.
Oh well, it is what it is.
And then
does he fit the time frame right now?
No, it's not.
Canceled immediately. Super canceled.
It probably would have came out now, and Naruto would have came out now. They probably would have canceled that right.
Oh, like that bad? Is that
like not that bad, but it's just
the first Dragon Ball
misogyny or
that bad.
Accusations.
Pretty bad.
Shit, so.
I think OG Dragon Ball got a big fat cancel.
Keep that secret from the cancel culture.
How would he fit in today's society?
He would have been canceled.
Okay, well that's kind of I guess the same thing.
Yeah. If he was a real character in today's world, they would have started already a campaign. They would
a Me Too for
he would have been.
He would have wronged some people.
Like this, if you're hurt, blah blah, and it doesn't fit in nothing that's today's culture.
Okay.
Not even his teachings as a sensei.
I think none of that would matter in today's environment.
And rightfully so.
It's like they almost expect, it's like, well, that's another topic, but it's like, perfection.
Sounds like almost like somebody I know that would do martial arts and train people to better themselves.
Bullshit. You're talking here's a wrong example. There's a way better example.
All right,
fucking
ass.
You like that one?
Nah, you're right. Go on with that shit.
Jesus. All right.
I tell you compare.
Hey, settle down.
I wasn't comparing you. I was comparing the idea of there's just for the betterment of everything, and just because one little thing happens.
All right. Anyways, All right, who's your character that you chose? Well, one of your characters.
The first character I'll go with is he might be a fictional character, but from a movie about real events. I chose Pawan Nawi.
Pawan.
I feel like I heard that name.
Well, explain the character. Who is he? Who is this person?
Pawan Nawi is a youth from.
Is it Rainbows of the Warrior?
From Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
In a movie called Warriors of the Rainbow, and it's about a character named Naruto who was becoming the leader of his tribe, and at the apex of his youth, they became colonized by the Japanese. I think they were already colonized by the Chinese. But then they become colonized by the Japanese. They go through like a really harsh colonization process, and then stuck in like a little internment camp. And many years later, when Naruto was like an old man, he's like been preparing his entire life to stage a revolt against the Japanese. And the time comes, they revolt. But a lot of the young men of the tribe have gotten really arrogant about the state that they're in, and maybe even complacent. Some have already have been successfully colonized by the Japanese. One dude is like a cop, everyone else is just kind of like completely complacent. Like they know alcoholics, they know they can't win. Some of them have just been completely drained of like the will to be sovereign and fight. They've given up. Naruto never gave up. He's always kind of like this like harsh, badass old man who don't give a shit, and he knows he's gonna die in the battlefield, regardless of the circumstances. But Pawan Nawi is like one of the youngest boys that's on the cusp of warriorhood, but he hasn't done what it takes to become a warrior. He hasn't got his tattoos. He has to
coming of age.
But he's the most ready and willing, maybe not the most capable, but the most ready and willing to like be down for the people, to be down for the tribe, to like go and fight and be a warrior and fuck the Japanese. These fools, he's with it. He's chomping at the bit, and he knows like Naruto's planning something, and he wants in, and he wants to like. He looks up to him as a chief, and he's like, man, he wants to be about it. You know what I mean? I think, I chose him as he ends up he dies at the end by tackling one of the Japanese soldiers off a high mountain cliff. But first he's like sprinting through a village with like a big ass gun, just like mowing fools down. Pop, 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 pop. He runs out of ammo, and there's this like Japanese dude on the side of a cliff, and he's like, fuck this fool, and he drops the gun, and he runs, and he tackles that fool, and they fall to their death together. And that's the character I picked.
Is your character a father figure?
No.
No. Alright.
He dies as a young child.
Does he have any flaws?
I'm sure he does. Like everything that I see about him in the movie are like admirable. Everything about him I admire. I think his flaw would just be his youthfulness, his eagerness, his impatience.
That's a good flaw. I feel like a lot of our youth have that problem.
I think he's a good representation of the youth in general.
And I think the flaw of that comes from the lack of leadership and having somebody guide him,
Because of the state they're in.
Yeah, because even like Wana, he's planning something, and he's older and he's like ready to go to war, but he kind of stopped doing that, like teaching the younger ones how to be warriors and stuff like that.
He couldn't though. If he did, then the Japanese
they'd kill him. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like there was a lack of that.
If I'm not mistaken, because I watched it too. Did they get into it with other clans too of their own people? Yeah. So that was. I don't know. Would you consider that part of the flaw?
No, that's when Moana's younger. He's talking about Papa.
That's the older. That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting the characters mixed up.
They still had issues. Like one of the their rival clans were successfully colonized, and they were down to fight for the Japanese.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of that came from the rivalry they had already had. You know, but
Kind of like the Tlaxcala with the Mexica.
nah, because I would say that Tlaxcala were taken advantage of by the Spanish. I don't think their rivalry was similar.
Yeah.
I think that Tlaxcala,
actually did attack the Spanish initially.
yeah, they attacked the Spanish, and because they lost to the Spanish, and one of the agreements of combat was that the Spanish would get their warriors if they lost the war, and then so the Spanish gathered Tlaxcala warriors who were bound to honor the principles of combat as they were agreed upon. So the Tlaxcala warriors were honor bound to fight for the Spanish because those terms were agreed upon prior to combat. So I don't think that had to do a lot with the rivalry with the Mexica over the malicious intentions of the Spanish.
And in this situation, that clan specifically just aligned themselves with Japan.
Right. They were colonized too.
Yeah, everybody was colonized with the Japanese, but they were successfully colonized, like spiritually, mentally. Like they were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna fight for the Japanese," like willingly, you know. But a lot of that had to do with like the rivalry with Mona's clan. There was some of the warriors from that clan that initially were gonna fight with them in the revolt, but because one of the Japanese soldiers was like really kind to them, they were like, fuck that, we gotta like have this fool's back and fight for the Japanese because this would never treated us.
Would you show this character to your children if you had kids?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he's with it, you know what I mean? Like when I see a lot of youth today,
You see the spirit of Red Feather in him?
absolutely. Yeah, Pawanawi is Red Feather. I think the youth today are like really polarized. The most ready, willing, and capable of our youth are often consumed by a nonprofit and neutralized, immobilized right away. So even though the most ready, willing, and capable, they're neutered, for the lack of a native word, by a nonprofit, and then they're just sucked into this complex where they're getting more youth to fucking neutralize, and then they're not actually out there doing the work that it takes to combat a state. You know, they're doing like non-violent work, they're doing non-militant work, they're doing arts and crafts, you know. And so, but like had Pawanawi gotten rolled up by a non-profit, he wouldn't have been down to fucking go and like smack the Japanese. He would be making arts and crafts in another part of the village.
You want to know something interesting? Listening to that podcast with Hickson on it, he was talking about how like he said like back in the days, kids would only be in their rooms to go to sleep because they'd be outside playing all day.
Who's Hickson?
Hickson Gracie, the jiu-jitsu,
The greatest of all time.
I'm just viewers
Hickson
might have
Gracie,
never heard of who Hickson is.
he's a martial art. He's a I guess I guess for the lack of a better word, martial artist, but like how he was explaining himself is much more than a martial artist, you know. Like he also does like he tries to use martial arts for like embettering people, because a lot of the stuff that they teach in jiu-jitsu can be applied to everyday life. So he was talking about how like kids, you know, would only go to bed and be in their bedroom to go to sleep after playing outside all day, right? But now, like, parents should be worried about their kids being in the room all the time, you know, because they're on their laptop or their computers or their phones, and they have access in that phone to everything, you know, fucking sex, fucking, you know, movies, drugs, everything is on that fucking device, you know? So he was breaking it down how
is drugs.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that comes with it, you know. So like he was talking about how like the socializing of interacting with actual human beings is being lost, whereas like you know, like now cowards can linger in social media where anybody can talk shit to you online with no repercussion, whereas like back in the day, you talk shit to somebody, you're gonna get popped in the face, you know. And if we do that now we're seen as fucking toxic, machista, you know, full of testosterone, you know, like, and it's like, yo, like, you know, that's some real shit, you know, like, people need to know the consequences to their actions, you know, and that's one thing that's like being limited right now. So pretty much what he was breaking down to is that we're raising cowards, you know, and like he's trying to like change that, you know, like even for like bullies, he said I have a program for bullies where like, you know, like if they're too aggressive or whatever, like I teach them this way to be more calm, and you know, I throw him in with the shark so that he knows he's not the biggest bully on the block, you know. Or if he's too calm, I teach him how to be a little bit more aggressive, you know, because like, but his thing is like everybody has a unique style of learning, you know, because he was taught by his older brother that like what a good teacher does is he doesn't teach you what he wants you to learn, he teaches you what you need to learn, you know. And I was like, you know, like that's why he's who he is, you know. But
does your character, or actually, what would be his in modern society? What would be his, like, how would he fit in modern society?
He would absolutely be groomed to be in a warrior society for sure.
He'd be gangbanging.
He'd either be gangbanging, or he, you know, if he had access to a warrior society, like if there was warriors who saw his potential, like they take him under their wing right away and bring him up proper, you know.
He joined Red Feather in it.
Yeah. He'd be part of Red Feather's clique for sure. You know, but like I think he's a good representation of like the youthful spirit, of like the eagerness, the willingness, the capability, you know, but not mature, not patient, you know, and you know, the way he dies, you know, there's one Japanese soldier on the side of the cliff. He's got a gun that's out of ammo. He tosses the gun. He sprints toward that Japanese soldier that's not engaging him, and he smacks that fool off the cliff, and they both die together.
Right, and like kicking him like Spartan.
It's a 1-for-1 trade. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Pawn for pawn.
It's a pawn for pawn trade, a 1-for-1 trade, when there's potentially other options that could have went down. You know, like he was just like, fuck it, I'm down for the brown. I'm gonna smack these fools. You know, and there's a lot about that I respect. Like there's a lot about that maybe it wasn't the right decision. You know what I mean? But he was down to make the decision. He was down to do it.
It was about honor.
He was about it. You know what I mean? Well, there's hella people that are in a moment. The moment is there. It's time to make a decision, and they just don't make any decision. Well, I guess that is a decision. Like it's like if you vote for nobody, it's a vote of no confidence. Mm-hmm. It's like a decision of no confidence. Like they freeze, and that's what they're deciding to do, is not engage with the enemy. You know what I mean? Like there's an enemy, and sometimes that'll get you killed. You know, or it could get somebody that's on your team killed. You know, like you become a liability when you freeze. And at least he made a decision to smack this fool, you know. But it was a youthful decision. It's like it's the, I forget the word, but it's
impulse.
It's the trademark youthful decision, you know, and to just get him, you know, he's right there, I'm gonna go for it, you know.
I should have watched.
I think that part of the youthful spirit is what is neutralized by the state through nonprofits and things like that. You know, if we had more of that, we would probably be in a better position, in a better state. We'd have people who would be down to engage the enemy, you know.
Yeah, I think definitely there is the nonprofit industrial complex plays a big role in pacifying the fire spirit. And I think that's also because of a lack of a proper warrior society in the community. Because everything that we have, or what we have, has been manipulated and exploited by, you know, by the state. The state.
What? A man's circle? That's toxic.
And also, you know, and money. You know, unfortunately, money has taken over. You know, and the pursuit of money has, you know, corrupted any, you know, our communal warrior society.
The priority for Hawanawi and I forget the name of the tribe, Naruto, their priority was smacking the Japanese. You know, they're able to identify their enemy and take action against their enemy. We are in a position where we have to juggle all kinds of different priorities, and we don't even have a good have a good identification on our enemy. It's like Steve Copley, Confusion on the Battlefield. You know what I mean? We have yet to identify our enemy. You know what I mean? We have yet to look at relatives who align themselves with the enemy and realize that that's an identifiable enemy. You know, like we get this crossed up. You know, they tell us one thing and they tell us another thing, and all of a sudden we're neutralized. We don't know what.
It's like when they say "I love you" and then they smack you in the face.
Yeah. I love you. I love you some more. You know what I mean? Like, what? Do you love me? Do you hate me? You know, like, well, you know, and like so.
Check.
So we can't even identify enemy. So like, if we can't even identify an enemy, how can we prioritize moving against this enemy? You know what I mean? So like, Pawanawi, they had an identifiable enemy. It's there's right smack in the first stage of colonization. So they were in a better position than us.
Right, yeah, because it's like comparing him to Cuauhtemoc that you saw in Spanish there.
Exactly.
500 years later, you're talking about like
he's got cousins who are half Spanish and the whole nine.
Identifies Latino. Oh, did I say that out loud?
They call themselves Latinx and they're like, "Fool, you're from Italy? You're from France?"
He has family from
Spain.
He has members from his own clan that are fighting for the Japanese side.
Right.
You know. So
Right, and you see hints of that because there is a character who is like a cop for the Japanese, and he ends up turning. He ends up
trying to regain his honor.
Yeah, tries to regain his honor, but his wife was like, "Fuck that! I'm with the Japanese." Like she did not want to go back. I think she was Japanese. I think his wife was Japanese. So the child, I don't remember, but I know the child. She ended up like killing herself with the child and all that. Like she just didn't want to. She knew that there was no future for her, and this fool was trying to regain his honor. But it's like, yeah, like when you made the decision to be a cop for the Japanese, like you nailed in the coffin. You know what I mean? Like you could try, but like the consequences are still there. Even if you did regain your honor, you lost your wife, you lost your kid. You know.
Oh. All right, hey Hockey, do you have another character for us?
I do.
Which is your character?
My second character is the one and only Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. Yeah, Peace Among Worlds. But yeah, Rick from Rick and Morty, and obviously, for those of you that don't know, Rick and Morty is on Adult Swim. It's an adult animated cartoon that it has a lot of sci-fi elements to it. It has conspiracy theories. It has like a lot of references to sci-fi pop culture.
With the turkeys?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
But yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi old pop culture references, like Terminator. And anyways, the point is, it's a sci-fi character. Obviously, Rick and Morty is a farce of Doc and Marty. Yeah. So, anyways, what did you ask?
Is he a father?
He is a father. So that's one of the reasons why I picked him, because he's a father, but in a weird way, because obviously he has a child. But in his world, there's multiple versions of himself, multiple versions of his daughter, multiple versions of just every single aspects of his family.
Quantum physics.
Right. Yeah. Because he's a multi-dimensional traveling character, one of the few that can do that. And from what I gather, based on the show, he failed his original daughter, and because he failed her, he had to move universes to a different universe where he can be a better father. So in this new universe, he actually shows up as an absentee father to live with his daughter. And one of the things that he does is ends up becoming a grandfather, and pretty much takes Morty, which is his grandson, under his wing, but also at the same time is using him for his own personal gain. Yeah. So
he's like taking advantage of him, but making it seem like he cares.
So this is the flaw.
So the flaw. So the flaw. He has plenty of flaws. So he's an alcoholic. He's a narcissist. He's he's just like he's all the worst things a man could be.
He sounds like an old school Mexican father.
Well,
beyond that,
he is a Sanchez.
He's smart.
He's a
Sanchez.
That explains a lot.
So Spanish father.
I mean, but he's done everything from like genocide to literally like like having sex with an entire planet to like, I mean, you want to talk about being a fucking a womanizer. He's a planetizer, and he holds no not just for the opposite sex. He'll sleep with pretty much anything.
He'll sleep with
anything. Yeah.
Kind of like what's his name?
There's a reason why
Captain Jim Kirk.
Oh yeah, the aliens. Yeah, he does plenty of that.
No wonder they're called Dirty Sanchez.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has a horrible. He obviously failed as a father because he's an absentee father. So he dipped on his daughter.
For his work.
You know what? And
we don't really know.
You don't really know, but what you do find out is that there was some noble things he did, which is kind of funny because even though he has all these flaws, he has done noble things. And
he's a revolutionary.
Right, like he's fought in revolutionary battles and conflict. So he did dip out in the family for that, and it actually caused him to be on the run from the universe government, and so he's constantly like trying to be killed all the time by the government because of the fucking revolutionary shit he's done. So it's like he knows he fucked up, and rather than like correct it, he just like dives deep into his shitty character.
He
doubles down on the shittiness. But
sounds like a Sanchez.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's definitely, I mean, his flaws are endless.
Wow.
I would say.
I knew a few Sanchez's.
Would you show this character to your child?
So my daughter has seen some Rick and Morty, so like I have. I definitely think though, like when she's older, I would love to show her him again, just to show like how intricate a human could technically be. Even though he's a fictional character, I do see a lot of real world stuff in him, and there's like a lot of things you could take from him, because like you see him struggling with like depression, you see him struggle with suicide, see him with alcoholism, with like the negatives, right? But then you also see him like try and actually be a good grandpa and actually hook up his grandson, or he'll hook up his daughter, or you know, like he'll do some things that's out of character. Like normally he only fends for himself, but then every once in a while he just like goes out of his way to do stuff for other people, and it'll even put him in a bad position. So you see that he is selfless sometimes. So
seems like every time he does something, that I should say it like this. It seems like he has perfectly good explanations for like all of his bad behavior that only he understands, but it sounds legit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Isn't that what every narcissist does?
That's a good point.
It's like a double. Yeah.
But the thing is that he's like the smartest man in the universe.
Right.
So like anything he says sounds legit, because like he can travel in between dimensions.
Yeah.
You know?
Damn.
His meaning of life is kind of like, what's the point at this point?
Yeah.
He can just relive. He could even keep like die and come back like easily.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
So does he fit into this world?
Oh man.
Technically,
He probably is.
Yeah.
Rick Sanchez could exist in the person in this reality,
because he's in every reality.
He's in Area 51.
He's also self-aware that he's on a show being watched by people.
Right. So he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
In a lot of a few other episodes. So
which philosophically means that
he can
show up right now in the person.
But if he were to be here right in front of us, I mean, yeah, just I think he would
invite us to party.
He would invite everybody to party.
Yeah.
And I would gladly accept.
I would also gladly accept.
I would not.
Hey, you gotta travel to space and do crazy shit?
I don't drink.
That's once in a lifetime.
You don't gotta drink. You can do other stuff.
Yeah.
You snort crystals or whatever the fuck he does.
I don't snort
Smoke vapors, volcanic ash.
I'm only gonna take you to the farther edges of the universe if you take this drink.
What's that one episode where they smoked that thing out, like that boulder thing?
Yeah,
I wouldn't because everybody is expendable to Rick Sanchez.
Yeah, it is also true.
You can go party with him, and that's it. You die, and he wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, that's also true.
Well, not if he dies first.
He can't. He won't.
He'll save himself before he'll save you.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And I've been in that position before.
All right, Johnny.
A second character, huh? I never really gave much thought to this.
Pass.
I'll pass for right now.
Alright.
I'll pass it on to you.
My character, I thought about another one, which I'm gonna go with that one than my initial live character because I think it just has a lot more relevancy.
Okay.
And his name is Jake from Once Were Warriors.
Jake the Muss?
Jake the Muss.
Oh, Jake the Muss.
Jake the Muss.
Baby, I've been watching you.
Okay, so who explained what's for Warriors and Jake the Muss?
Jake the Muss is a fictional father character, male character from the movie Once Were Warriors, and it's based on the modern day family of the Maori people of New Zealand.
Oh, the family is Maori, but Jake is Samoan.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, I know that. So, in the movie, which I recommend for everybody, Once Were Warriors, it shows the difference between, I guess, the Maori who were less colonized or more connected to the traditions than.
And Jake? Well, so the family.
Because I know the first time I've heard something different.
So the wife,
Man or what?
yeah. So the wife is Maori, and they're living like near her traditional homeland, and Jake is Samoan.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think in the movie, her family like they don't really get into like their past, but when the daughter dies and they go to the funeral, they kind of hint at the fact that her family is kind of like royalty in their Maori clan.
Well,
they're like,
she's still alive when they're having that conversation, and he's like, I come from a long line of slaves.
yeah, because the Maori would enslave the Samoans. So like they looked at the Samoans as like because he was Samoan, they're like you know what I mean, like why would you get with him? He's fucking Samoan, you know what I mean, like be with the Maori, you know, and like that. So he's had this like it seemed like he had this clash with like her and her family. You know what I mean? And because he's Samoan and they're Maori.
So that's the backstory of that. I never heard that.
I'm under the impression that's the backstory. I probably have to watch it again or like read.
Did they say that in there? Because I never heard that.
If I'm wrong, I apologize. Go ahead and leave it in the comment.
Yeah, from my understanding, they're all Maori.
No, he's Samoan
In the movie.
in the movie. Yeah. In real life, I think he's Maori. I think he might be Maori by blood, like in real life. But in the movie, I think he's
the
Samoan.
guy who plays Jake the Muss.
Jake the Muss, the character is Samoan.
Jake the Muss. All right.
So is he a good father? By a response, you could probably tell what the answer's gonna be, but go for it.
Damn. I think he exhibits all the traits of father. They're all fucked up.
Yeah.
They're all fucked up. Every single one, except maybe the sexual violence part. But everything else, you know, he's there, but he's not there. You know, he's like, he's an alcoholic. Maybe not a womanizer, but
he beat the shit out of his woman.
But you know, he's definitely like you know,
Wife beater.
a wife beater.
Cancel. Once Were Warriors is canceled.
You know, you know.
Hey, don't badmouth Once Were Warriors, alright? This is great.
Yeah, that's.
Would you show this character to your kids, or have you?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't.
I haven't shown her the movie.
Have you seen?
Because it has certain scenes that you.
It's pretty harsh.
It has certain scenes that what does it say? And it's kind of like a red flag for people, like
A trigger?
a trigger. Yeah, trigger.
There's definitely trigger things.
Anybody that watches Once Warriors is major trigger warnings. Major trigger warnings. So
A lot of Maori movies.
so yeah, I mean it's beyond.
If you watch any Maori movies from New Zealand, it's all trigger
Just
warnings.
trigger warnings.
Well, right, not as much.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
But boy, trigger warnings on
that one's horrible.
Trigger warnings on was it the night? It was a chess movie.
Yeah, that one's fucked up. They're all fucked up.
Have you seen What Becomes the Brokenhearted?
Which is the second part to
The
this.
sequel to Once Were Warriors.
Oh, I didn't know that had a sequel.
Yeah. So
I gotta watch that.
okay, yeah. Because that goes into some of his father qualities,
Okay.
right? He tries to make amends.
Yeah, he's trying to make amends, and by this time, I think like his older son, from what I heard, his older son's just like, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to kind of reestablish, reconnect with the younger son,
Right.
the one.
He starts gangbanging.
Yeah.
The older son does though too, right?
The older son, he's in the gang.
He's in a-
gangbanging. He's hard. He's going hard. But the younger son starts gang. He's about to get put on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And Jake is trying to salvage their relationship and save the son from going into that life.
Right.
And Jake is actually gets fathered by these two Maori men who don't talk much in the movie, but they're like these massive Maoris that go hunting or whatever. And when George was here,
Who gets fathered?
Jake.
Jay gets fathered.
Well, fathered in terms that we were talking about when Jorge was here. He was talking about fathering.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to be somebody's father to practice fathering with somebody.
Okay.
Right? So fathering is the act of like
Taking you under his wing.
not only taking you under the wing, but giving you what you need. It could be like, just for a moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I could be fathered by y'all right now on this particular subject, and that what y'all helping me out would be fathering me to help me grow. And so, Jake, these two dudes kind of like do the fathering process with Jake, and he has to like check himself because he loses his temper. You know, he's a temperamental character. And these two dudes are like, they don't play no shit, you know what I mean? And so he kind of goes through this metamorphosis with those two characters, and then it helps him figure out like how he's gonna approach salvaging the relationship with his youngest son.
All right. Is this would this character fit in our current day and age in society?
Would he fit? Or is there some?
He exists.
I was gonna say he
exists. Yes,
He exists.
He super exists.
I think. So, in one of the previous employments I had, they had a class for DV. Men that got busted for DV, and one of those weeks, the guy that was running it, he was absent, so they asked me to
fill in.
Damn.
What's DV for those that don't know?
DV is domestic violence.
Damn. So you participate in domestic violence?
They asked me to run the group for
But the question was good. Clear yourself, bro.
Like deflect.
Don't deflect that one.
Wax off.
I've never been a perpetrator of domestic violence.
There you go. No domestic violence.
They're gonna cancel us in.
So I showed him the movie.
Oh.
I showed them the movie.
How
to see how they react.
Yeah, how do they react?
So these DV fools, especially the one that was the oldest and more harder fool, that fool says that fool was over the top. So this DV fool was acting like, oh, that fool was just too much.
He's like, dude.
He's
So,
you always use an open hand.
Yeah, and maybe that's what
Rule of thumb.
I just don't know that dude's life to see where. So we just kind of explored a little bit of that, but
that's interesting.
Obviously there's like different degrees of what Jake represents in that colonized behavior in our community. Whether it's it's the one that's like, not there with his sons and his daughters, and just kind of like be present. That chooses the homies over the. Over the
visiting
family.
His son.
Yeah.
When he's locked up.
Yeah. That it's like, oh, you gotta toughen him up, and just doesn't go visit his son. And so, it's either, all different characters that he exhibits in the movie are represented in the community. All in one, maybe that too, but,
I mean, I feel like Jake the Muss, the character, all in one is represented by many men in my grandfather's generation.
Probably
100%. Like I think there's countless, man. I think there's one in my family. You know what I mean?
At least one.
At least one that Jake the Muss represents really well.
Yeah, I mean, I have this image, and one time in the projects, the husband beat the wife, and then took off from the house, from the apartment, and when we were like, what the fuck? So we kind of like, and there was like fucking splatter of blood on the fucking wall and shit, and it was like, she was still alive, but, she fucking like, beat her like Jake does in the movie, so, he never came back, because they know that, they were gonna fucking beat his ass, just an opportunity to fucking beat a dude's ass. Sometimes the homies be doing some shit like that too, some shit, but, and so, then that's just Once Were Warriors, and I haven't seen the second part, the sequel to that, and it didn't get too much acclaim, I think.
It's a good film.
Once Were Warriors?
Once Were Warriors was really like internationally.
What Becomes of the Broken Hearted? Yeah, very few people know that,
and I know about it. I just haven't seen it, but it different.
I think there's actually a third movie too.
It would show. Damn, that would be good.
I'm not sure.
That's my character.
All right, Homer.
I chose Homer Simpson.
Perfect. Good character. Who's Homer Simpson?
Homer Simpson is the father of the family known as The Simpsons. This is one of the longest, or probably the longest running animated sitcom in history.
It might be almost one of the longest shows, period.
I thought it was Mickey Mouse.
No, Mickey Mouse doesn't have a solid single show.
It's not an animated sitcom.
Or a show. It's not even one show. There's like a billion shows now. It's like
sitcom, that's true.
Anyways.
So, The Simpsons is a fictional family that lives in Springfield. The state is unknown. Many people speculate Ohio, but it's unknown. Either way, it's fictional. And The Simpsons predict the future, amongst other things. And if you don't know who the Simpsons are, or Homer Simpsons are, who Homer Simpson is, or who the Simpsons are, I feel sorry for you. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain it.
No. You're right on that one. All right. Is
Googleable.
Yes, definitely Googleable. That's our trademark word.
Just put Homer first word and
It
pops up.
Yeah.
Is he a good father?
Okay, so there's two eras of The Simpsons. I think there's I don't know how to categorize the eras, but I think it might be the Matt Groening era, and then like the Family Guy era, like the post Matt Groening era. But the original.
Wait, what's the first word you said?
Matt Groening.
What's that?
He's the creator of The Simpsons. And I think there was
they have new writers now, or what? And that's why.
I don't know if there was new writers, but I think he definitely oversaw like the direction of the show.
Creative.
And from the very first Simpsons episode to like when the change occurred, I'm not sure when, Homer Simpson was a really good dad. Much like Stu Pickles. Like Homer Simpson is a buffoon. He's not very smart. He's makes all the mistakes, but he was a really wholesome man who did his best to prioritize his family, and a lot of his flaws and mistakes came from like when he tried to prioritize himself, but he tried to be there for his kids, and then after this era he becomes like fucking what's his name for Family Guy?
Peter Griffin.
He becomes Peter Griffin. You know what I mean? And it's just not a good show. Like The Simpsons used to be really witty. It had really in-depth comedy. It had I don't know, just like wits about it in terms of current events and the jokes that they made. And it was a really good show. Like The Simpsons that I grew up with was like on point with a lot of shit. And then it became like Family Guy, and it just became stupid.
What was that episode where they had the Masons? It was the Earth, what are they called? The Earth Builders, or what are they called? It's the Stone something.
Something like that.
It's funny because like how you just did that right now. I was literally about to call attention to that. Is that people pull. Everybody says, "You remember that episode?" You bring up The Simpsons, and that phrase gets regurgitated over and over again. And most of the time, they refer to the old Simpsons, the old episodes, the most memorable ones.
Yeah.
And I think too, a lot of it, we were kids at the time with free cable, and it was free on TV.
Channel 11.
Yeah. So I think a lot of brown folk could relate to that because they didn't have cable.
But also, like, that's the man who raised me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Homer Simpson was my dad. You know, so like, I got all my life lessons from him. You know?
That explains a lot.
Exactly. Remember the episode where he's getting cockalash on a stick? He was eating cockalash on a stick, and the guy, he goes, "Oh, do you have anything to drink?"
No,
the guy goes,
exactly what you
all we have is Mountain Dew and crab juice. He goes, "Ew, I'll take the crab juice."
Crab juice. It's gross.
Yeah.
All right. Would you show this character to your kids?
Yeah, 100%.
The old stuff and the new stuff, or just old stuff?
Nah, just the old stuff. Just the good stuff.
And do you think where would Homer be in this reality? The embodiment of Homer Simpson.
Don't. It's like, remember the episode when there's all these bats? I think it's the Salem witch trials or whatever. All the bats are coming out, and he's like, "Oh, they're in my hair."
Fucking guy.
Strand and shit going down.
Sorry, I'm about to join you in that.
I already shaved those off. So.
It's funny because there's an episode where he does shave them off and they grow back. He shaves his beard too, and then it just,
I think Homer Simpson just represents, like, in our society he fits in where he's just like a family man. He'd probably be like a union worker, family man. You know, he's got a house. He's got a nuclear family that he provides for. You know, like
he also works for a nuclear plant. Speaking of nuclear
power plant. You know, so he's not really into politics. You know, the politics of the nuclear power plant doesn't.
He has an annoying little neighbor.
Neither here nor there. You know, he lives
Christian.
That's another father figure right there.
Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, so I think Homer Simpson is like the standard suburban fuck up.
Yeah.
Dad, you know, like.
Redneck.
I mean, he's yellow. I think he can.
He can be
anything. Almost
He
anything.
can be anything.
You can apply him to any. I mean, obviously they seem to be a white family, but he's applicable to that genre of man that's just doesn't give a shit about what's happening outside of their job and their family, but is there for their kids for the most part. You know?
What about the Bumblebee character?
Such a Spanish?
The Chavo,
Chavo Ocho?
replica. Do you have a character?
Yes, I have a character.
Okay, good. Let's see if you can redeem yourself. Let's see. Who's the character?
I'm choosing Darth Vader.
Oh, so real quick though, before you go into that, the reason why I brought this topic up was because George on another podcast mentioned Darth Vader, and they kind of broke down Darth Vader, like his traits and stuff. So I was like, oh, I found that very interesting, and I wanted to do that. That's why I brought this here. So, anyways, So who's Darth Vader?
Darth Vader is a fictional character
German, actually.
from the movie.
Vader. Vader.
Darth Vader is German. Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Not Vader, yeah.
Darth Vader.
He is from the movie Star Wars. So y'all haven't seen Star Wars. I don't know how to tell you guys either.
Go back your rock.
And pretty much he grows. The movies are weird because they start from part 4, 5, and
6.
4, 5, and 6, and then they go from 1, 2, 3. So we put
And
them in
then
order: 1, 2, 3, 4,
7,
5, 6.
And then 7, 8, 9.
You know, he grows up like this orphan kid that was living with his uncle. His uncles, right? Uncle Ben or whatever.
No, that's Luke.
Oh no, that's Luke.
That's Luke.
Darth Vader's Anakin.
He lives with his mom.
Yeah, he lives with his mom.
He has
Yeah,
the Jesus thing going on.
Yeah.
Where he has
Virgin Mary.
Yeah, his mom's the Virgin Mary.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, he grows up pretty much a very savvy kid, you know, open to adventure and stuff, and
But does grow up as a slave.
yeah, and grew up as a slave, buys his freedom, you know, goes travel the universe, grows up and becomes part of I guess what you would call a warrior society. He joins the Jedi and starts training for his life. And they use this thing called the Force, you know, to help him out and intuition and stuff like that. And eventually, you know, he betrays his original master and he joins the dark side, like we all do.
I feel like you just breezed through what the Force was.
Yeah. It's because it's not practical, you know.
But it's such a big part of
Yeah, but
that's who he is.
I mean, that's what made him literally exist.
Yeah, okay, so
The Force is his dad.
I mean, the Force is all of your dads, you know. Anyways, yeah. So apparently in the movie, there's good energy of the Force and there's bad side of the Force. And he lingers more towards the dark side of the Force, you know, because he wants more power, you know.
But why?
Because he wants to save his girl, who's dying, and he gets brainwashed, like a lot of people do.
I can't hold it in. I gotta caveat this. There is no dark or light side of the Force. There's only the Force. What you choose to do with it creates whether or not it's what you choose to do. So. There's no dark or light side of the Force. There's only the Force. The Force in and of itself doesn't have a dark or light side. If you choose to use the Force for the dark,
for your own,
then you become the dark side yourself. But the Force itself is not the dark side.
True. Thank you for clearing that up, Professor Ome.
Can't hold it in.
But I think that's
Star Wars geek over here.
But I think that's real in any life. Like one time, I was listening to this guy. He was talking about how Satan comes from an old Sanskrit word that basically translates to ego.
Right.
You know, and how we all hear that story oh, I have the little devil and the angel right here whispering, you know, but that's yourself, you know. You choose to listen to whatever, you know.
Your ego in there,
yeah. So Darth Vader. Yeah. He is a father, yes.
Yeah. Is he a good father?
He
No.
He never knew he was a father.
Yeah. You know, but even once he knew, he was asking his son to join him to do, you know, I guess what in the movie.
Come join the hood.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, talking about those locals forever, you know, So yeah, you know, I think the little bit that he did know his son, that he had a son and all that,
I would venture to say that he knew he was a father.
Yeah.
I think the Force told him that. I think he knew through the Force that he had descendants.
That's kind of hard to say, right? Because then he would have shown up a long time ago, you know.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
because he could feel Padme pass away, right?
Yeah.
But because even when they chose him for the Jedi, they felt like he had all these these things, right?
No, he wasn't ready for
the Force was strong with him, so it's not like
but I think that's
just because another kid that has a strong connection, like a strong Jedi or the Force.
I think
they could tell that he was.
I think the reason why Obi-Wan tried to hide Luke was because he knew that Darth Vader could sense him and would come looking for him, and that's why Obi-Wan stuck around in case Darth Vader ever showed up. He'd fucking bang it out with him. You know what I mean?
But he wasn't even around.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think on that note, I think Vader's reach of his feelings were for some reason clouded
By the dark side.
I don't know if it was by the dark side, but he like.
Well, no, but I remember. I think that what was that dude's name?
This whole conversation.
What was that?
Yeah. Sorry, y'all.
What's his name?
But I'm about it. I'm about this shit.
The guy that brainwashed him.
Are you talking about the
Sidious?
He told him that they died, didn't he?
No, he didn't. He just said that Padme died.
Yeah, that Padme died.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm assuming, that they died too.
Then the kids died.
I wouldn't doubt
I didn't even know that.
if
Because he didn't even feel Leia either.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying that I wouldn't doubt if he was being blocked on purpose.
Well, he was half machine too.
That's also another thing that could have also impaired it. But I think once he was in physical contact, not in physical, but just being in the close vicinity of them, then I think he knew.
You could feel it.
But I think that distance, because he couldn't feel Yoda and he couldn't feel the Obi-Wan, and those are very powerful characters.
Right. That's
and
true.
you would be able to sense those if you were super witty with the Force. But
I think in Spanish it's like a sangre llama.
What's that? Blood
Blood calls. Like,
oh,
they can just all of a sudden you're like,
that kid looks like me.
that little motherfucker.
Maybe
he went to the store for cigarettes.
Jesus Christ.
I remember that package.
Maybe you could tie them together, but what's his flaw?
His flaw, I think, is like ego. You know, like because he wanted to save his loved one is part of the reason why he kind of gave in to the dark side.
100% that's his fault. Anakin was a bitch. You didn't see that?
You know, like his ego is what got him turned into Darth Vader. You know, when he was fighting Obi-Wan, you know, like he thought he was better and he let his guard down and fucking Obi-Wan chopped him to pieces. You know,
Combat 101.
yeah. You know? Never attack. You know.
The master.
On that though, like, would you say that the his flaw of being like very egotistical and always trying to do it the way he wants to do it rather than heed the warning of others, would you say that it affected his fatherhood? Because like when he was he had plenty of opportunity, like when he asked Luke to join him, his goal, I think his intent was to take over the universe with his son and even overthrow his master. Is that what would you say that's his ego still? It's still in play right there?
Yeah, I would say so. Because in the end, he ended up killing Sidious, right?
Right.
In the end, to kind of like redeem himself, I guess.
Right.
But like still, like even before that, like you said, you know, very ego driven. Where it was like, oh, I'm gonna turn good again, and I'm gonna be a father. You know, it was like, no, join me. You know, like, and we will thinking of our.
But therein lies the paradox of the dark side too, because the apprentice.
Always.
The culmination of the apprentice from the apprentice to a Darth is killing their mentor. So was he killing this fool out of honor to protect Luke, or was he killing him out of a last-ditch effort to become the master?
When he throws him, he throws himself with him. No, he doesn't.
He's getting electrocuted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think at that point, if you're gonna kill your master, then you can't be putting yourself in there like, well, you might die too. You know, I think that questions the idea whether he's like, okay, we're fighting, right? And you know, but in this situation, he picked him up and he knew like that electricity was gonna run through him. Did he know that it was gonna kill him?
But there is no attacking Darth. There's no attacking him without getting hurt in exchange. I mean, like this fool's the best at what he does.
I think there's two parts of it. So like when he first asked Luke to join him, that was I think what you're saying, which his intent is to keep the Empire at its state, just be the new ruler of it, and have his son at his side.
His apprentice.
But at the last film of the first three, at that point he is trying to save his son. He finally this is the last thing I could. This is the last of my legacy is to allow my son to stay alive after this battle. So,
as a father to a daughter, though.
He does have a daughter.
There is some kind of sexism going on though, because he was in contact with Leia,
but it was just like,
and he was like, there was no connection.
Yeah.
And apparently it was like later on Luke tells her like, I have it, and so does my sister.
The Force,
the
ability.
Like, how come his father never like?
But Leia,
maybe that was George Lucas fuck up.
It's probably George Lucas fuck up because he wrote it into where Leia consciously rejects the use of the Force.
She's like politics.
Yeah, she's more like Padme.
Well, that's how she was raised too,
I think that's what it is. It's like kind of to show her path of her mother. Maybe that's
Luke into Anakin.
Because she went the political.
But she was raised
role.
that way. She was raised by
She's the what's his name?
Family.
Yeah.
Jimmy's.
Yeah, that guy. How would you feel Darth would be in our reality?
Does he fit into?
He'd be like a George Soros or.
No, George Soros would be the dude fucking.
Mr. Sidious?
Oh, okay, yeah.
He'd be up there. He'd be like
but he'd be somewhere up
He'd
there.
be a CEO. He'd be a CEO of a fucking big ass company exploiting
I
people.
would see Darth Vader being George Bush Senior.
Yeah, like a George Bush Senior. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that would make a George Bush Jr. Luke, and
It's like that doesn't add up.
It's the opposite. He's way dumb.
So.
Yeah, but he'd be one of those rich fools.
I could see that.
Exploiting the world, you know.
Yeah, he's
the embodiment.
He's the embodiment of an empire leader.
Yeah, for sure.
maybe Rockefeller.
Oh, what's his name?
Rothschild.
The dude that fucking shot his homie on Honey Dick Cheney.
He shot his lawyer.
The lawyer.
That was his lawyer. He shot his lawyer by accident.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was checking that.
Yeah.
He was like, fucking.
What do you expect
I
from-
shoot how the fool's on accident too.
What do you expect from a fool that has no heart? Literally. Yeah, he has a fake heart.
Oh shit. It's a pig heart.
He's dead, isn't he?
No,
he's still alive.
No, Rockefeller's dead. He had 9 heart surgeries.
Damn.
Please.
Yeah, this one he had one and he's still going.
That's what money
He
can
was-
buy.
If you turn this off, I'm dead.
So is he like Iron Man?
Yeah, that definitely would be Darth Vader.
Interesting.
Alright, well,
Well,
that's where he fits today.
I think that's it, huh?
Well, good answers, good perspectives. Just kind of my other character. I'm not gonna get into it, but it was Vito Corleone.
Who's that?
Vito Corleone from The Godfather.
Okay. When you said that, I was like, what?
Vito Corleone, which is really Vito.
I've only seen that movie
Vito
once.
Andolini. Yeah, it's a very family based movie, so I really recommend people to watch it.
Yo, that movie sucks. Yo, watch
So trip
it.
on this though.
I saw that movie for the first time last year. Trash.
Right.
Trash.
However,
what y'all guys?
my daughter is in a film school,
No.
and that was one of the movies they just analyzed because he says one of the best made movies ever in terms of like directorship. But obviously, this brother here doesn't know anything about that.
I went to film. I had the
Yeah,
opportunity to go to New York.
Opportunity.
And I decided to play football instead.
There it is. Jarhead.
Yep. Yep.
But
That
anyway,
was from Jar.
he's from Jar, huh?
Say it again, fool.
Yeah, fool.
He's from Jar.
All right. Well, let's close it up.
So, who's closing it up? How does that go?
Oh wait, why'd you pick Corleone?
Just because it was the way that he was a father. Just the way that he was a father throughout the whole movie, and you know.
He was a father and a godfather.
The whole movie, he was in the hospital.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But then you gotta watch The Godfather Part 2.
Can't pay me to watch part 2. Part 1 was you owe me money for watching part 1.
I'm sure if you disagree with this man, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see your critique.
Let's see what the.
Throw it in there. I don't care.
Yeah.
You want to hate on Star Wars? Go for it. We'll go.
I
ahead.
just think it's too long.
Once for Warriors is a million times the movie Godfather.
I would say, and that's why I went with that movie.
Facts.
But
The Warriors is just a better movie.
The Warriors.
You know that part was it was unscripted.
it was unscripted, that part.
Was it you that sent me that?
Yeah,
The Warriors is unscripted.
No, the
That
part.
part, that scene where
Oh,
that fool was like, he just brought it up at the, became so iconic. So,
Good stuff.
yeah.
Our just bottom line is, there's a lot of characters in media that portray. I think, what's that saying? Life imitates art or something like that.
or imitating life.
Yeah, something.
Life imitating art.
You know what the fuck
Tomato,
about.
potato.
So, but I think a lot of these characters are based off of real people, and vice versa. I think a lot of people now can look back at these characters and also like kind of influence their lives in a sense. I mean, like you said, Homer, like good father father figure to look at, yeah. And I have so many more characters in my head that I could have probably like talked about, but those two just kind of, I don't know, stood out to me. But yeah, that, and it's kind of cool that we all can relate to it because we all have access to these media sources, and yeah, think about it on your own and break it down how we did.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, so what were your top three?
It was that it's life imitates art.
Okay.
Fucking that you can take away from them and actually guide your own life. And then okay, did I not have a third one?
Yeah.
I guess the third one is just watch some TV every once in a while because there's some shit out there that's kind of interesting.
All right.
Well, I don't have 3 takeaways. I have 1 takeaway, and that's don't watch no TV because that shit will mess your life up. No, I'm just playing.
Unless you're watching us.
Watch is turn off your computer right now. Your phones. Go do something productive. With your
Do something with your life.
What are you doing?
Why are you here? You're still here.
No. But seriously, I would say just like we were saying in the other episodes is like take away the good, try to leave the bad. Like try to learn from these things because like even though it could be fictional, like you could still take away like things. It's like the Bible; it's fictional, but you could still take good lessons from it. So think about that.
If you believe the Bible is non-fiction, put it in the comments.
Good luck with that.
I feel sorry for your mother.
What you said about my mama?
I don't know. I can't. I'm probably just like
takeaways.
Top 3 takeaways. We had some pretty good movie reviews today. We watch. You can see we watch a lot of cartoons and anime. And I guess even in anime, I think you can, like you said, just take. I think one takeaway is like with these examples that we all showed is that how much media and Hollywood has really influenced us and shown us like this guy was raised by Homer Simpson. Like what the fuck.
Very few men could say that.
Be honest about it.
or not. Many of them could say that.
It's a small fraternity.
And just like what he says, like turn off the TV because this is our influences that we all grew up in. I mean, I didn't grow up watching once Warriors religiously, but Godfather, yeah. And so it's just be aware how much we are influenced, especially as the younger we are, we're more impressionable.
Let's see, my top 3 takeaways are, I would say screens are the enemy for the youth. You know what I mean? I would say screens are are really bad. I would prefer to not have The Simpsons in my life, to not have movies. Like I would prefer to like have gone through my lived experience as a youth and then watch these things as an adult when I have like a good critical thinking about me, and then be able to relate to the characters. Like, damn, Jake the Muss reminds me a lot about this motherfucker here. Like, Darth Vader has got a lot of similarities to this fool that I know. I mean, but being able to like have the presence of mind, the critical thinking ability as like a more mature person to be able to like break these characters down, because I feel like when I'm young, as a young person, I looked at characters and didn't understand the context, wasn't able to critically break down their characters, so I might have grown up idolizing these characters, not knowing better. You know what I mean? Looking at these characters and being like, oh yeah, these are either good role models, or try to embody these characters for one way or another. Like Bart Simpson, for example. I would not want my child to act like Bart Simpson, but I know that if a child looks at Bart Simpson, they're gonna want to embody Bart Simpson. You know what I mean? A child is gonna look at the mischievous buffoonery behavior of a fictional character and try to embody that character as a child, not having the critical thinking abilities or to really break that character down and be like, wow, this kid is like hella problematic.
Think about the consequences.
You know what I mean? And like, I think part of the like Hollywood and what it does is it will take real life characters and put them like potentially problematic behaviors and put them in front of whoever it is, like intentionally to get the youth to embody bad decision making, to embody self-destructive behavior. You know what I mean? Like, if you get an impressionable youth, if you get a really impressionable youth that doesn't have a father figure, that's growing up around drugs and alcohol, and you insert Jake the Muss at the right time at that kid's life,
no,
you know what I mean? Like, the chances of him growing up to be like Jake the Muss are really good.
Or a Scarface.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because there's so many people I know with fucking like they have posters of Scarface on their shit.
9 out of 10 of my homies.
The fucking poster
in their room is like the classic fuckboy shit.
Yeah.
That movie is whatever too.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even sit through that whole movie as an adult. Like,
yeah, that movie's pretty trash.
Even growing up, it's like bits and pieces, and like it just did for me. Like, it never really clicked. Like, I don't really give a shit about that movie, TBH. The only thing I like about that movie is that he's like a proud Cuban and not a Gusano. You know what I mean? But
that's it.
Is he though? Or was he Gusano?
No, he hates the communists.
Oh yeah, he's a Gusano.
There's no redeeming quality.
That's how he got his stay in Florida. Is he killed a communist just for fun?
Yeah, weak.
There's no redeeming quality.
That's even more trash now.
I've only actually watched that one like maybe twice.
Yeah, like
that one was like,
I watched it more than a few times. It's pretty epic to me.
Yeah, for me it's not. That's like super lame. I don't know, whatever.
It's the reason why Vito Corleone got shot, dude.
Really?
Yeah, because they wanted to bring in the drugs into New York, and they were like, nah, I'm not fucking with that shit. And they fucking shot Vito Corleone because of that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so it's like kind of like
I get
a direct connection.
Yeah, I guess maybe I didn't grow up in the hood enough. Like, I didn't, like most of the people that like had that shit in their room were like fools that were already gangbanging when they were like 6. So maybe that's why it didn't appeal to me or whatever. But that's one of the examples of like of people of like impressionable youth that were given a priority that, in my opinion, was just like a whatever ass priority. And Hollywood, the entertainment industry, definitely has the power to harness that, to harness influence over the most impressionable amongst us. If you get Pawan Nawi, who's the most ready, willing, and capable to put it down to give our people a sovereign nation to fight for the sovereignty of our people, and then you insert Scarface at the right time, or you insert Goodfellas,
Casino.
Godfather, Casino, Blood In, Blood Out, you know, American Me, you know, like, boom, all of that potential is now out the window. It's gone, you know what I mean? Like, Hollywood has the potential to influence that. And then if you go even younger, you know, like The Simpsons, you know, to like younger kids, and they're watching that religiously. They're getting raised with Homer Simpson.
Well, they're being raised by Dragon Ball Z.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know,
Just taught me how to fight. Just wanted to fight people with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, even that.
fight to solve all your problems.
Yeah, basically.
You know,
That who stole your lunch money, fight him.
Fight
You
them.
cut in line, fight him.
Train harder if you lost. Train harder and fight them again.
Go Super Saiyan, fuck that fool up.
Scream to power up and then fight him.
Yeah. I definitely. I think my last takeaway, or I guess this goes into the same takeaway, is that like all of the things that come through media, entertainment industry, with a critical thinking mind is really good. You now have the power to siphon through the good and the bad, and figure out what's retained, what should be retained, and what shouldn't. You know what I mean? And then have the presence of mind to look at the bad and learn from that too, to realize that, damn, I don't want that to happen. You know what I mean? Coming from my own personal lived experience, is like, damn, motherfuckers made mistakes that I should have learned from and I didn't. You know what I mean? And I had a critical thinking mind, wasn't able to use it. You know, and that probably comes from being raised by television. You know.
Well, I think that is the issue there, that, like you said, that get off the screens, because for the most part the screens ain't teaching us any critical thinking.
Absolutely.
And that's the key, you know. I think that's the key, that once we got to a point where we were critical thinking, we saw these images and we're like, then we can start differentiate between good and bad. But sometimes it's like, it's like the spectrum. Like, you can, you know, the good people always get fucked over by the bad people.
Right.
And so then you just start choosing from that point forward. But then at one point you're like, wow.
See, but I think that's another fucked up part about the entertainment industry and media, is that in media, the good people always win. There's always a happy ending. There's all, you know, the people who are the injured parties of injustice somehow always get their just desserts at the end of the movie. But in real life, that's not how it
Never
works.
have.
Evil people are consistently living the best lives, consistently rewarded. The most heinous behaviors amongst us, of like the mega rich and people who are consistently doing like really fucked up shit, are like
destroying the planet.
handsomely rewarded all the time. And like people who are noble and have good intentions, like the most humble amongst us, are like consistently shat on.
Assassinated.
You know what I mean? So it's like
They're just simps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and other genders, however you choose to identify,
I identify as a vaccinated person.
give him. Me too. We hope you like today's content. We try to keep it a little bit more fun, but you know, you're welcome.
Yes.
So yeah, this concludes our episode.
This concludes our episode for the day. Give us your critiques on what we think about the movies, and also leave in the comment section the song you would walk out to for your first championship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Shout out to that fool. What's his name again?
Red Feather.
Thank you, Red Feather, for all the work you've done for everybody.
One heart, one mind, one soul, one spirit, one chalupa, whatever.
Ho!